Saints preview, Statman Dave. Do you now think the Champions League is a more realistic route into Europe next year for us than the actual league itself? Talk to me.
I think so, yeah, it probably is, considering that we are 7 points adrift of fourth place, a record that nobody's ever got back from this position and made it into the top four. Arsenal did it with, I think, 5 points behind at one point. So probably, yeah, the Champions League, want to win the Champions League. I was wishing for the Europa League. I thought that could have been an easier route to get in, but obviously Marouane Fellaini saved the day once again for United, and we're going to have to win a Champions League now. Simple as that.
Can Europe save Jose's job, do you reckon, Adam?
He looked like he wanted the Europa League with that team he put out, to be honest. Let's be real, that team was almost sabotaging our Champions League position, and it almost worked for him, which probably by him throwing the bottles, he looked a bit disappointed at that goal. But I'm absolutely delighted that Manchester United got through. If you can't enjoy a last-minute winner, you can't, there's no point. But I thought the team that we selected that day was absolutely awful. And if we're picking those teams in the future and we're trying to play these style of football, and because our group, look, let's be honest, Valencia have had dreadful time in La Liga. Young boys, they've had a great time in their league, but they're not very good side. And we should be going through in this group. So I don't think that's really, something to get really excited about, especially when you look at the performances itself. But of course, we've made it. We have shown along the way that sometimes we can pull off results. We've got some very good players in this side. And when the likes of Pogba or Martial or someone has a very good day, like we saw in Juventus, if those two games were against Juventus, I think we would have won on away goals or something mad like that. So it's like we could potentially do something in some games against bigger sides, but I'm not expecting it at all now. Paul,
there's not really anything that he can do at this point, is there, to save his job at the end of the season, apart from actually win the Champions League? I mean, personally, maybe I can't see top four happening. What do you think?
Oh, no, top four's not happening, is it? I mean, listen, the possibility of being wrong exists at all times.
Obviously,
when it comes to football opinion about what's going to happen in the future. And one of the things that's almost defined the Mourinho era for me has been expecting collapse to be about to come, and then just enough is done to fend it off, and then we get more of the kind of dross, and everyone goes, yeah, but we finished second. I can't see a route to him saving his job. If we win the Champions League, he'll obviously stay in a job, and it'll be amazing, obviously, to win the Champions League. But almost every team that's left in the competition is either better than us or more functional than us as a kind of collective manager and playing staff and all of that kind of stuff. So the idea that it's more realistic than coming top four, I actually don't think it's more realistic than coming top four. I think making up the points difference is less of an impossible, very unlikely thing that's going to happen than winning the Champions League. So they're both very unlikely things that are going to happen, and I would just say the Champions League is just slightly more unlikely.
Oh, this is going to be a fun preview. Let's get it back up. Let's get back excited again. Let's get the mood back up. Mo, let's look forward rather than backward. Let's not forget we did just win a game in the last minute. Surely that's going to be giving the players a lot of confidence going into this weekend's game against Southampton.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe. Mourinho did spend the whole post-match press conference talking about Rashford missing chances and then how he was amazing. I mean, it was a great press conference from Mourinho, as usual. The man is el puto amo, in the press conference, as Guardiola said all them years ago. The guy's great, and that was a great conference. He's like, yeah, 14 years, 14 knockout rounds, and 2 years, I won Europa League, and he walked off. He just walked off. It was amazing, brilliant. He's horrible, though. He's a terrible manager. He really needs to go. He's like a dinosaur. They should just back project every time he's speaking on screen. They should just back project the Jurassic Park bit. Where they talk about DNA. And we're dinosaur DNA. They should just have the plane behind Mourinho whenever he's on screen, because he's prehistoric, mate. He's absolutely prehistoric. Bloody Fellaini and Matic in midfield. Are you out of your mind? It's not Matic United. It's Manchester United. Get him out of there. He's awful. He's useless.
I can hear Paul chuckling.
I'd have anyone on this panel in midfield ahead of Matic. Honestly, he's literally just tall.
Statman Dave, would you have yourself in the team above Matic?
No, I'm crocked. I've got a dodgy knee. At least Nemanja Matic is reasonably fit. Of course, the abdominal problem he had this season, but no, I'm crocked, mate. I'm done. I couldn't cover any yards.
What do you make what Mo was saying then, mate, about getting rid of him? He's a terrible manager. He's prehistoric.
Listen, you've
He's
got
run out
to
of
look at
arguments.
United as a whole, and there's a number of problems at the moment. And like looking back to the positives of that display, I thought Fred played really well in midfield in the Champions League, and for him to be taken off was a questionable decision. Again, the big thing when you're chasing a game, right? You don't take off a ball-playing central midfielder. You remove your defensive midfielder, which was Matic, to bring on Paul Pogba, and that's the pairing I want to see. I want to see those two guys ripping it up in central midfield. What Fred did for Shakhtar Donetsk last season was fantastic. We just haven't seen enough of him, and I thought he was really good. I thought was probably my man of the match in that game, even though he was removed. Oh, Marouane played, of course.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? I thought the two best players probably on the pitch for United were Fred and Lingard. Lingard's movement was really good. He was keying off attacks all the time, constant movement in space. And then the two guys Mourinho took off, and he's just sort of like, why? Like,
we did that against
whole
Palace as well. We had, I don't think anyone was playing great, so please don't take this as me saying they were playing amazing when they got taken off. But Mata and Lingard again were the only ones that were seemingly looking like they could make something happen, and they got took off. I don't get this thing with Matic, and I haven't got, with Fellaini this season, I've kind of seen you know what, he's the lesser of both evils when it comes to Matic and Fellaini. I don't mind Fellaini playing. I genuinely don't mind him playing, but if you're playing Matic and Fellaini and Smalling and Jones, and that's the spine of your team, you deserve everything you get, and you can't say he doesn't have a choice, because he does have a choice.
Just so everyone knows as well, watching at home, if you're thinking, what are you guys talking about? Jose's already spoken about this in his press conference. We record this preview just before the press conference. In fact, recording this preview today, only in the last few hours, we just found out some news about David De Gea. Obviously, amazing save against Young Boys. I came out after the game and said it was we showed a lack of quality in the game, but that was actually a show of quality, which did win us the game, really, that save. The latest news is that we've activated his 1-year contract extension. Simon Stone from the BBC says it's just housekeeping. The key point is talks over a new deal, which still continue to go on. Adam, do you expect him to stay? If so, why?
David De Gea, of course I want him to stay. I think triggering the extension may be something that's been done as protection, because we're nearing January now. We still haven't agreed a deal with him, and in January he can discuss terms with another club. So I think getting that extension triggered absolutely makes sense. But the noises that are coming out from David De Gea, the noises that are coming out from the club seem to be positive. And I've said this before, and I got a little bit of criticism for it. David De Gea, even if he wanted to go, where could he really go? I know PSG might need a new goalkeeper in a year or two with Buffon. I know Juventus might not want Chesney for long. But really speaking, where can he go? Who would give him the money? Who would pay us the money? And I think at United, I would love us to make him the highest paid player at this club, for a simple fact that everybody that's been our highest paid player in recent years hasn't deserved to be. And if David De Gea is our highest paid player at this club, for you to get a contract anywhere close to that, you have to be on them levels.
Never mind highest paid
and
player.
I think it's he sets such a high bar that I think it would be a good standard to have. I don't think it's a case of let's just chuck money at him just to make sure he stays. He deserves a big deal. And I would make sure that we get him signed up ASAP. If I was him, and if I was David De Gea, a guy that's not a Manchester United fan, I would probably want to leave, because I looked at his trophies, and he's won 1 league title. He's going to be coming up to a testimonial year soon. And I used to look at Van Nistelrooy's trophies and think, he's so unlucky that he's been here 5 years.
I know.
He's not won much. You look at De Gea, he could have been at Manchester United for 10 years nearly and not won more than 1 league title.
I think
that's incredible.
Now he's in the conversation. Now I think you've got Van der Sar, Schmeichel and De Gea.
He's already there. I think the only thing that holds him back is trophies.
That's exactly it. He needs to go and win more. But like you said then, bare minimum making him the highest paid player at the club. I'd name the stadium after him. Paul, why would David De Gea want to stay at Man United? That is the question that I have. If you pitch yourself as someone who's not a United fan like Adam just did then, why would he want to?
I was just thinking about this. My love for Manchester United is ridiculous. The reason that I'm so unhappy about what's happening at the moment is because I don't believe it befits the club. And I'm not talking about the results on the pitch. I'm talking about the combination of the kind of commercial obsessions, the manager's kind of misery, and the lack of success on the pitch, kind of combining to form a horrible, toxic mess. And I can't tell you how much I love United. Like, I've been doing a podcast about them every week for years on end. I must care about them a bit. But if I was De Gea, I would not even think about staying at this point. Like, Max said, where could he go? Well, and you mentioned both PSG and Juventus. And if I was De Gea, I would say that either of those were a better option. You're obviously going to amass vastly more league titles at either of those clubs. And which one of those are like, okay, so none of them have won the Champions League in recent years, but out of United, PSG and Juventus, other than a kind of fluke, who's more likely to win it? Well, let's say who's least likely to win it next out of those three.
Basically, you look at, with the exception of Barcelona and Atletico Madrid, right? He walks into every other team on the planet. Like, and he would probably even contest Atletico Madrid as well.
Nah, he walks in there.
He walks in both
them teams. I know you watch more, but he walks in them. I know you watch more La Liga than I do. You got 11 Sports and that, but
with his feet, man, it's more that probably Oblak is probably anyone on his level in that sense. With Barca, it's a style thing. It's not necessarily that he's not good enough. He's obviously a ridiculous Spider-Man, but it's about being good with your feet. He's not actually that good with his feet, considering he's Spanish and everything. But the point is, anywhere, literally, I know Courtois at Real Madrid, but honestly, he's playing so bad. And it's Real Madrid. They'll sack him off and get De Gea if they have the chance to do it. They'll do that without even.
Do we think that the World Cup thing and the Spanish fans thing and the Spanish media thing has maybe made him think, let's not go anywhere, I'm so loved here? Maybe he's seen like, you know how Ronaldo, I know he moved and he won loads of things, but it was never the same connection there with him.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's played a factor, because the thing is, right, it's not even so much that, like, the Spanish players, they don't protect, he doesn't play in Spain, never played for one of the big two, left Atletico Madrid very young. I definitely think there's an element of, like, the Spanish fans don't. They're holding to a very high standard, in the sense that, like, man, you know, come on, we had Zubizarreta, we had Casillas, we had Victor Valde, you know. And it's not that De Gea isn't as good as them.
He's better than all of them. Yeah, by a long way.
I know,
by a long way.
He hasn't done it for Spain. Whenever he plays for Spain, he looks sort of weird. And I think part of that is mostly a chemistry thing. Like, if you think about for United, he's constantly under a siege, right? He's always making things. For Spain, he spends half a game standing like this.
United have had 60% possession in the last 2 games. He's not constantly under siege.
He'd be better for Spain if he had Valencia, Smalling, Jones and Young in front of him.
Yeah, but it's still not. He's not under siege. He's literally. What's so great about David De Gea is his concentration. He's got what Schmeichel and Edwin van der Sar had. Is that he can sit out of a game and nothing's coming down on his goal, no possession. Then there's a mistake and he bails us out. That happened against Palace. That happened against Young Boys. That's why David De Gea is such a special keeper. I think that's it. That's the difference between a very good keeper, you know, like a good stopper.
I agree with that.
And then there's David De Gea. And that's the big thing there, that it's the concentration to pull out a save when you need it. And that's why David De Gea deserves a new deal and should have a new deal.
I agree with all of that. My point is the fact that he hasn't, I would agree with what you're saying. He hasn't done it for Spain. And I think part of it is, I don't know if it's a concentration issue or whatever it is, but he will definitely have seen the way that Real Madrid's players, right, they get treated very harshly. Like, I mean, there's very few players that get a free ride from the Bernabeu. Basically, no one does, really. Raul did for years. That was about it. So it'll be harsh going to Real Madrid. Juventus, I think the thing is, if he went Juventus, he'd start, first off, obviously. He'd win the league every season, right? And, you know, it's a team, it's a culture in Italy that's built on venerating goalkeepers and defence.
Would they give him the money?
But maybe David De Gea has this affinity with Manchester United now that he's been here so long. But it's something that we don't believe from that modern day footballers have. Maybe he does genuinely love it here in this city, these fans, and he wants to win the league with Man United. Maybe that is what it is.
He's given. This was what I was just about to go on to say earlier. He's given United enough time on that basis. Like, he stuck it out. He didn't leave as soon as he could.
Right.
He was very close to leaving. I think he's done his time to be venerated and beloved. And maybe he's the kind of person who would prefer that over winning stuff. But I suspect it's probably a little more likely that he's like, okay, I've won some cups, won that one amazing league title, and been absolutely beloved. And for the rest of my days, United fans are going to thank me, and anytime my team gets drawn against them, I'm going to get the hero's welcome I deserve. I don't have to worry about this. I can now go and actually win the stuff that befits my standards. And listen, I'll be absolutely delighted if he signs a mega deal and stays, because then the hope that United are actually going to come back to be a force kind of remains. That would be a pretty major blow, but I don't even know why we're kind of working on the basic assumption that United are going to kind of come back and be a dominant force anytime soon. Because
it would be a big marker in terms of to our other players that are maybe thinking, shall I, do I jump quickly? Or if David De Gea signs, then maybe Paul Pogba's not thinking about leaving, and the other players aren't thinking about leaving. I know some people in these comments are going to say, get rid of Pogba, but you're all bells anyway.
It's a domino effect, right? If De Gea goes, then Pogba's like, oh, well, who are we going to
have? But then that's the whole player that Ferguson built his team out was players that wanted to play for Manchester United and honoured the shirt.
Okay.
If players jumped the ship based on one guy leaving.
Okay.
Smalling wants to wear the shirt. Look where that's got us.
We are going on to predicted 11s. Let's get on to predicted 11s. But before we get there, yes or no? No, nothing else. I just want a yes or no. Is David De Gea leaving in the summer? Paul?
No.
I don't want him to. Yes.
Yeah, he is. Statman Dave, is Dave leaving?
Absolutely not.
Mo?
Yeah, Juventus #1 next season.
Jesus.
There is a cynical side.
I wanted a yes or a no.
Yes, he's not leaving. He's not leaving.
Yes.
I told you he's going to be here forever and not win anything.
Well,
Predicted 11 league. This is where everyone, predicts their 11, and then we work out an average and get your score. Current leader on the leaderboard is Mo, who's here on the preview with us today. Average score of 10 in 2 appearances. Next towards the top, Statman Dave on 8.7 with 10 appearances. Paul Rantcast on 8.4. Me on 8.3. And Adam McKola way down there on 8.2 on 9 appearances.
I've been way more than any of you.
Dominant, wasn't he, last year when we just did like total points, and then when we bring like the average in,
as soon as we made the point system fair, Adam just seemed to drop a little bit.
As soon as you just rigged it.
Right, go on, watch the team.
Plus, like,
I got 11 in one of the ones that Mo got 10, so I'm holding that as my one secret weapon.
How many people have got full scores?
Paul's winning on head-to-heads. Adam, what's your team, mate?
I told you he was going to play Matic and Fellaini against the young boys. I told you that, didn't I? Anyway, David De Gea in goal. Valencia, Smalling and Jones.
It's going to happen.
Why are we back here again?
The boys are back in town.
Why are we back here?
Tweedledum and dumb. Go on, Smalling, Jones.
Luke Shaw.
Yeah. Just say it. Matic, yeah.
What the f***?
Keep going, come on. Matic, Fellaini. Who else? Pogba.
Matic, Fellaini.
Yeah.
Pogba.
Yeah.
Lukaku, Martial, and Lingard.
Okay. Mo, you're top of the predicted 11s league. What is your predicted 11 for this game against Southampton?
David De Gea in goal. Ashley Young at right back, because Valencia came off looking a bit weird.
He always just looks weird on the pitch, mate.
The dynamic duo of Smalling and Jones, back in the saddle again. Band is back together. Lukey Shaw, probably, he won't
it's
go
like
off.
Step Brothers at the Catalina wine mixer, in it. Jesus Christ.
The other dynamic duo of the Man United team, truly the Simon and Garfunkel of shit. Fellaini and Matic in midfield. He'll probably track Pogba out there because it's not a big game, so he doesn't really care about it. So Pogba go back in midfield alongside him. Knowing Mourinho, he'll start Lingard again because you tend to do that. Start Martial because he seems to have realised Martial's good now, which is nice. Lukaku will go up front. I was tempted to put Mata back into 11, but I don't think he'll drop Jesse Lingard. So it probably will be Lingard, Lukaku, and Martial up front. So.
Dave, talk to me. 11. Tell me that we're going to absolutely smash him as well, and why all these players are brilliant.
I don't want to trigger Mac again. You know, he's on the edge.
He's on the edge. I'm about to be stabbed. I'm sure.
We're not all like you, like that. Just accept this shit that's trifled up to you and then try and paint it as something that it's not.
Statman Dave, what's your 11?
Well, I'll give you Mourinho's team, and then I'll give you the team that I think should some slightly tweaks in there. So I think De Gea will be in goal, Valencia, Smalling, Jones, Shaw, Pogba, Matic in midfield, and I think Mata, Fellaini, Martial, Lukaku. I think if you're going to go with Marouane Fellaini attacking midfield, why not just play those long balls all day? Why not accept the way that you can get the best out of someone like Marouane Fellaini? You know, United didn't play long enough to him, and if you're going to play him on the pitch, play long. But I think if I were to tweak that, I think Marcus Rashford's got to come in. I think Martial's form's dropped off a little bit in the last 2 games. Maybe give him a little bit of a rest, rotate it, bring Rashford on the left-hand side. I put Lingard behind Lukaku. They linked up really well against Palace. Moments of good hold-up play from Lukaku. Lingard darting from midfield. Of course, I'd throw Fred in midfield against, instead of Matic and Delo at right fullback. One day, we are going to see him getting some assists probably from fullback and not having Antonio Valencia, who's static and just rubbish in the final third. But there's my team. There's the team that's going to win me some points. Again, I need to continue this domination. 8.7.
I tell you what, Delo at fullback, that would be quite a rare reason to get excited about Man United this season, maybe? No? Okay. Paul, please give me some reason to be excited about Man United. I'm not going to get it, am I?
Well, that feels like an unfair responsibility to put on my shoulders, Gaz. It's not my fault, right?
You can't ask realists to give you positive spin.
Want some positive spin, mate? I love it.
I'm always looking for a positive spin. I love a positive spin, and I think we're going to win this game because Southampton are even worse than us. That's why. But anyway, listen. Dave in goal. I think Matteo Darmian, who I genuinely, when the team came out against, was it Palace that he played, or Young Boys? I can't remember. Whichever one it was. I remember thinking like, oh yeah, forgot about him. Literally,
we didn't sell him.
Jones and Smalling. He's Chris Smalling and he's Phil Jones. Luke Shaw. Mac's reaction to before he said Nemanja Matic is my favourite thing that's ever happened on a Full-Time Devils preview. That's exactly how I feel when I say Nemanja Matic will start. I think Fred did enough. I mean, look, it sure looked like Fred did enough to me, but Jose took him off because... anyway, so Matic, Fred, Pogba, and I think the front three is a complete pick'em. I do think this might be the game that Martial got dropped because he scored 5 games in a row. He's had 2 slightly below par games in a row. I think that might do for Jose.
Okay, Paul mentioned then that Southampton are even worse than us. Who can tell me why? Dave, what's wrong with them? What's going wrong for the Saints?
Well, the bad thing is they've created more chances in the Premier League than we have this season.
I can't.
But Dave says this, but then he goes on to defend like what is like it baffles me, Dave.
What?
You know these things.
What am I doing?
But you still defend what
flopping.
happens. Like it doesn't make sense to me.
I don't defend what happens. I go back and analyse football and be like, it's not as though doom and gloom as you make out consistently. Like, Jesus, crack a smile once in a while, mate. But in terms of Southampton, last weekend they lost to Fulham, and Fulham are awful in the Premier League. One thing that they didn't deal with Mitrovic, a player like Mitrovic and Romelu Lukaku. You rewind to the last game away at Southampton, Romelu Lukaku scored from a cross at the back post, and you kind of see that Southampton are still susceptible to that. Of course, losing someone like Virgil van Dijk in defence last season, they've not really replaced him. Their leader hasn't come out there. So those crosses that United do put into the box, maybe this week it's actually something that United should be doing, hanging it up to the back post and allowing Lukaku and Fellaini to get in there.
You know, Ashley we've got Young, mate. Ashley Young
in the corner of the studio here at FTD HQ, we've just got a sign that says "Tell Adam everything will be okay," and producer Chris just occasionally points at it mid-preview, just for the last 10 minutes. Mo, have you seen much Southampton this season, mate? Can we actually get the win against them? Please tell me we will, please.
Look, I mean, we all thought United will beat Palace last week because Palace are rubbish and they're not playing well, and then no. So, but I do think, like Dev said, Southampton are weak to crosses. They don't seem to have any sort of real belief in themselves either. That's the other thing. Like they pulled 2 back against Fulham, right? And you're thinking Fulham are rubbish. This is going to be it. But then Fulham came back, got the win again. Mitrovic killed them. I think United get the win purely based on talent. Whether the performance will be good or not, I don't know. It's really impossible to say with United. But when you look at you got Fellaini, you got Lukaku, you got enough height in there to bother. Even Matic, frankly, got Smalling on set pieces. There's enough height in there to bother Saints. There's enough attacking verve in the United side that you know, as long as United score early-ish or concede early enough to trigger second half FC, then you know it'll work. But you know, Saints are really bad. They're a really poorly run club. They've had a host of bad managerial appointments. They haven't signed a striker. They've needed a striker since they let go of Pele. So yeah, I think United will win this one, but just about. I wouldn't be looking for a big win, but it'll be a win. It'll be like a boring 2-0 sort of thing.
It was really worrying me then when you were describing why Saints are in such a bad position, and all of the reasons also applied to us. Paul,
it's all right. He knows what he's doing, guys.
Paul, what can you tell me about Southampton, mate?
I think it's interesting to describe them as a really poorly run club, because I think for a long time they were held up as one of the sort of bastions of how you run a contemporary, like non-elite club. Their academy produced, and they actually signed really smartly. Think of Sadio Mane, think of Virgil van Dijk, players that they brought in, proved that they could do it in the Premier League, and then went for massive money. So I think what's happened is kind of a similar thing that happened to Swansea, really, is that train eventually runs out of steam. So it's really difficult to keep reinventing. And also, the other point that I completely agree with Mo about is their managerial appointments. I mean, the appointment of Mark Hughes, which did keep him in the Premier League last season, you're thinking, I mean, what has everyone been watching? Like, what football have they been paying attention to? Mark Hughes is the kind of dementor of football. He sucks the joy out of clubs slowly over time. And listen, I'm a 40-something Man United fan, so Mark Hughes, like, it cuts deep to talk bad about Mark Hughes. But like his managerial career has been quite grim, I think, is probably the best word to describe it. So yeah, they're in an awful state. I mean, it was kind of surprising that Hughes didn't get sacked after Fulham. I wonder whether they were waiting for this game, because in theory, playing United is supposed to be difficult. Although
so get the bounce back for next week, right?
Yeah,
there's no point trying to get it for this week. Yeah, it makes sense.
Or maybe they were just trying to sign. They just wanted Ranieri because. And then he went to Fulham, so they're like, oh, we acted too late. We're not going to win the league next season.
Adam, Mark Hughes in.
If we beat him, he'll probably get sacked, because I think that's the kind of position he's in at the moment. I think it's dragging along for him for a while.
Job swap.
Even if we lose, Jose won't get sacked. The club have already proved that. But I mean, didn't Steve once suggest
it was a genuine thing that happened? Yeah. That's a genuine thing that happened.
Listen, let's not go picking through the ridiculous things each other have said.
I once said Johnny Evans should be captain.
I once said Johnny Evans should play midfield.
Right, come on. But to be fair, Johnny Evans would still start for us now.
Yeah.
But anyway, and he would be our captain.
He's better than Jones and Smalling.
What we were talking about? Yeah, Southampton, look, they're poor. They're playing poorly at the moment. It's an evening kickoff on a Saturday night. Their fans are going to be... They're going to start off up for it. So it's up to us to make them get booing and all that stuff. When Man United come to town, teams are on it. And that's the thing that worries me. It's kind of like the last throw of the dice for Mark Hughes now. This could be a turning point for him. Or we could get an early goal and thump him 4-5-0. That's the kind of position Southampton are in at the moment. I know that's unlikely, but that's the kind of position. And they do have players that can threaten you. Ryan Bertrand, you're looking at their strikers on their day. I know they haven't done it this season, but on their day, they can cause problems. So it's a worry.
Score prediction?
0-0.
Score prediction. Is that honestly what you think? Yeah. Okay, Paul, score prediction?
I think United are going to win, but I've been wrong before. I'm going to go 2-0.
2-0. Ooh, Dave.
2-0.
Mo?
Hat-trick, mate. 2-0.
I'm going to go 1-0. Fellaini handball in the last minute once again.
By the way, I said 1-0 the other day and I was right.
Okay, guys, that was Saints preview. We'll catch you next time. All the match coverage coming this weekend from the game against Southampton. Let's hope the Reds can actually do the business this time.
Which Reds?
See you around. Laters. Bye.